I know we are working through some of the technical difficulties with the sound, but I want to greet you this morning. My name is Ashley Shelton, and I'm the President and CEO of the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. We are a power-building civic engagement organization in the state of Louisiana, and for years now, we have fought for fair maps. Today, we are here as interveners in Louisiana versus Callais, standing shoulder to shoulder with Black voters who now lead the charge to defend fair maps, and not only the state of Louisiana, but fair maps for all Black voters in this country, and the future of the Voting Rights Act nationwide. The hope of achieving fair congressional maps has been Power Coalition's North Star. We understood very early on in our creation that if we wanted to build pathways to power for Black voters, that it would start with census and then redistricting. From the state capitol to our nation's capital, our mission has been clear. We wanted fair maps that included 2 districts where Black voters had a real opportunity to elect candidates of choice. For years, we have organized, we have legislated, and litigated towards this goal. We have kept our eyes on that prize through a delayed census because of COVID, a late census tally, multiple redistricting legislative sessions, district court hearings and a trial, 2 Fifth Circuit arguments, and now a second argument at the Supreme Court. We are exhausted, but we are undeterred. We know the stakes have grown. That's why you all are here, because this case has become not just about the state of Louisiana, but it has also become about this country and whether or not Black and other voters of color will have a fair opportunity to have their voices represented. As we stand here today, we are looking at Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and its future. It is one of our most critical checkpoints against racial discrimination and our voting process. The people of Louisiana deserve fair representation. We all do. The Voting Rights Act is our promise of equal citizenship, and I refuse to accept any future that demeans me and the people I love to a second-class citizenship. Because without voice, without representation, without the ability to elect a candidate of choice, we have to be really serious. Truly, it means that I am a second-class citizen if I cannot have representations in the halls of Congress, the halls of my state legislature, my local government, and in my school boards. And that's truly the enormity of what we are facing today. We have come too far to accept a future where my children will have less rights than their grandparents, where my vote could hold less weight than my neighbors, where the voices of thousands of Black Louisianians are continually ignored. I've spent my whole career fighting for a multiracial democracy that I've never seen. But a multiracial democracy I do believe in. We know that it is possible. We are here to do the work to realize a multiracial democracy, and we ask that you join us in this fight. Thank you so much.
So, do you mind just watching my camera? I have to grab the battery. Okay, don't worry about it.
Good morning. My name is Damon Hewitt, President and Executive Director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and the Law. I want you all to give Ashley Shelton another round of applause. I stand before you as the head of the Lawyers Committee, but I also stand before you as a Louisiana native, as a native New Orleanian. Let me tell you something about our state. Our state is one that's a complex gumbo of culture, of politics, but also racism has been part of that mix. Racism has been part of that mix in voting and voting rights. As long as we've had elections in this country and in that state, there's been racial discrimination in voting, not just at the ballot box, but also in the drawing of maps. My very first depositions that I sat in on as a lawyer was almost 25 years ago in Louisiana because of unfair maps, racially gerrymandered maps. What I want to do this morning is disabuse you of a couple of myths. One myth is that this case and cases like it are all about partisanship, about the red and the blue, Democrats and Republicans. This case is about the Black and the brown. This case is about the people whose voices, votes, and very vitality stand and hang in the balance. the people whose rights are going to be quashed, the people who won't have a meaningful opportunity to elect a candidate, who are told they were a sideshow to democracy. This case is also not just about Louisiana. It's about nationwide, because we at the Lawyers Committee, our friends at the Legal Defense Fund and others litigate dozens of these cases every year using Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And the key question is this. The court has already found that there's been a violation of civil rights. In fact, the question is, can we correct that? Can we remedy that? Can we do anything about it through the courts? The other side is going to tell you that you have rights, but you have no remedy, that you only have rights. Your rights are words on paper. My friends, that is a short walk from what the Supreme Court told us in Dred Scott, that the Negro has no rights, which the white man is bound to respect. The question that our friends are calling today in this litigation, and throughout this kind of cases, is, will our rights be respected? Will our rights be honored? I'm so proud of our friends at LDF for litigating this case, to my sister friend Janae Nelson for arguing this case. And we're not here for show because we're on the dais. We are here to win for the people. Thank you.
The people united will never be defeated. 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 Good morning, my voting rights family. I'm Rabbi Jonah Pesner, director of the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, the largest and most diverse denomination in Jewish life. In just a few miles up Mass Ave is our center, where the Leadership Conference for Civil Rights, led by Maya Wiley, some 60 plus years ago in our conference room at the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, drafted the Voting Rights Act of 1965. So it is personal to the Jewish community, which marched in Selma with Dr. King, Rabbis Heschel and Hirsch, and so many more. My Jewish family is in the house. Let me see my Jewish family. And we are here today as we begin a new cycle of reading our Torah scripture. This week we read in the book of Genesis the story of the first creation of the first world and the first births of the first lives, and yes, the first murder because of resentment and jealousy and hate. Cain, who rose up and struck his brother Abel. And God, the Holy One, said, Cain, the voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the earth. Today, the voice of 3 other brothers cry out from the earth. Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Mickey Schwerner. Everybody say Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, Mickey Schwerner. May their memories be for a blessing, because they gave their lives for the rights of all of us, black, white, brown, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, all of God's creatures, to vote. Everybody say vote. 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 Because my voice is my vote, and my vote is my voice. So this morning, as our sister Janae prepares to argue on behalf of all of us before the Supreme Court of the land, let's take a moment as the luminaries of our movement did, and let us pray. Will you pray with me? Yes. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, God who is the God of our mothers and our fathers, God who has spoke to us throughout the millennia through the voices of Dr. King and Rabbi Heschel and Goodman and Chaney and Schwerner, God who was there in Selma, God who was there in Mississippi Summer, God, be here today with us. Enlighten these 9 justices to see what we see. That our voices are our votes, and our voice matters, so that we can be the multiracial, inclusive democracy that will make us all proud to do your work. God, keep us strong. We don't just take the 60-year view of marching. We have marched since we marched out of the slavery of Egypt. For 3,000 years we've marched, and God will march for 3,000 more years if that's what it takes to bring about justice and mercy and walk humbly with your name. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. We stand here today because we are Americans. Every last one of us. And I didn't ask you for a passport. We stand here today because what is at issue is not solely an argument. It is whether we understand as a country that we fought and won a civil war. A civil war for the soul of the country. Because while there is an argument happening behind us, that argument is couched in a question about the 14th Amendment. Now, I'm not standing before you as an attorney, although I am, because I don't need to be an attorney to tell you what it meant to say that this country and any politician cannot take our citizenship rights away from us. I stand before you as a black woman saying I am an American citizen. We stand before you as black people saying we are American citizens. We are before you as people with disabilities, as people who are Jewish, as people who are Asian American, as people who are Arab American, and say we are this country. And we know we fought a war and won it, and it was for the ability to have a voice, a power, a say. And what I will say to you today is that whatever happens in that building, it is not about fair maps.
That's right.
It is not about fair maps. If it was about fair maps, we wouldn't have had to wait till today to have a question about the 14th Amendment. And the fair maps are about whether black people, brown people have the ability to be counted, to say that they have someone in office who's going to tell them they're going to get their Medicaid, who has someone who says, no, 60% of black children should have health care, who know what it means to fight for clean water in a community that doesn't have it. Fair maps is not just about fair maps, it's about our voice. And we say this to all those who claim they should fear protecting our voice. Don't fear us, hear us. 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 But we'll say this too. While we're not telling you to fear us, we are not turning back. While we will not tell you to fear us, we will not stay silent. And while we will tell you not to fear us, we will demand our rights, our communities, our power, our voice, and say, this is our America. Thank you.
Good morning, family. It was the year 1965 when the Voting Rights Act passed. And there was one black woman by the name of Dorothy Irene Height, who stood as the sole black woman aligned with her brothers to advance voting rights for this country. There's a quote that she gave that I want you to hear today, that greatness is not measured by what a man or a woman accomplishes, but by the opposition he or she has to overcome to reach their goals. I stand today on the shoulders of Dr. Height as the president of the National Council of Negro Women. I stand on the shoulders of the 92% that did their job on election day. The Bible says in Isaiah 54 that no weapon formed against us shall ever prosper. But it goes on to say that every tongue that tries to come against you, judgment shall condemn them through your mouth. So as the president of the oldest black organization that has the only black-owned building on Pennsylvania Avenue, as the president and CEO of the place where Congress and the Senate have to see a black woman's face every single day, I stand here on the steps of the Supreme Court and say no weapon formed against us will be able to prosper. If you understand whose you are, then you don't worry about who is in front of you. And so I am Siobhan Arline Bradley, the daughter of people from Florida and South Carolina, the descendant of slaves that won anyway and anyhow, and I come with blood of resilience in my veins. I'm telling you this today. We as a people united are scaring the people outside. The more that we're together, the more we send them apart. So if you don't hear anything else I say, every time you face opposition, just look at them and say, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Section 2 will be intact after they do their work inside of that Supreme Court. My question is, who do you believe in? The people or the fools? Who do you believe in? The people or the ultimate power? And I stand on my 10 toes. Ready to fight until justice is won. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. Peace and power.
Have another hand for the message. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning to all of you. My name is Alice Washington, and I'm one of the 9 Black Louisiana voters who, alongside the NAACP, Louisiana State Conference, and Power Coalition for Equity and Justice, are here to hold the line for a fair map in Louisiana and a strong Voting Rights Act for our nation. We are the Robinson interveners, and it has been our fight in the federal courts that brought us here today. We are here to fight for the hope of fair maps in our state. We are here to fight for the future of the Voting Rights Act everywhere. This fight is personal to me. I grew up on Locust Wood Plantation in Tensas Parish, Louisiana, one of the poorest areas in our state and in our nation. While life has taken me many places since, including years spent here as a social worker in our nation's capital, I always wanted to return to my home state. I did just that. And I now reside in Baton Rouge, in a neighborhood in Congressional District 6, the new district that the Robinson interveners fought for years to achieve. Our goal was simple. We wanted to achieve a fair map that reflected all of Louisiana's communities and that finally gave Black voters like me a fair opportunity to be heard in the political process. Now the appellants and our own state lawmakers are trying to take that map away, and with it, sweep away years of civil rights progress and the promise of the Voting Rights Act We are here to hold the line. Even if we have to argue in this case alone within those courtroom walls, because we know out here we are not alone. I'm lifted up by all of my fellow litigants, by our attorneys, by our civil rights community, and by each of you. We were built for this moment, and together we will fulfill the promise of a true and lasting multiracial democracy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. Love you all. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Dorothy Nairn. I am coming to you from Napoleonville, Louisiana. I live in Assumption Parish. Do you know where that is? Probably not. But we stand on history, y'all. Louisiana versus Callais is a turning point in our long, winding journey to secure fairness, justice, and true representation throughout Louisiana's congressional districts. And now as we mark this second, because we were here on March 24th, argument, we are reminded that this fight is not just about us in Louisiana, even though it's about us too, in the heart of my home along the bayou and between the sugarcane fields to the Mississippi Delta where my dear friend Dr. Washington comes from. Y'all, this is about our entire nation. That means you, all of we. It is about whether communities of color across this country can have meaningful representation. It is about whether our voices will be heard or not. I am here to say our voices must be heard, from our legislature in Baton Rouge to our nation's capital right here on this street where we stand. We will not be silenced. Time and time again, when progress has been made, it has been opposed, revoked, and thrown into uncertainty. But today I am here to say, say it with me. Say it like you mean it one time. No more. The whiplash. And we get whiplash from all this injustice, gaining rights only to have them challenged and ripped away. Woo, it's left so many of us exhausted, disillusioned, and understandably numb. In a state where justice has been fleeting, it's no wonder so many of my neighbors, people I love, Black Louisianans, have lost hope. I'm right there on the precipice of losing hope myself, but we have come back to Washington, D.C. once again because we, the Robinson interveners, we ain't gonna lose hope. We're gonna generate it. We're gonna make it expand. We cannot lose hope. We are here to hold the line for the Voting Rights Act. We are here to fulfill the promise of the fair maps that will last, not just for a moment in time. I believe that we will win. I believe we must win. So say it with me, y'all. Win, 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 win. Win, 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 win. Because too much is on the line. We stand today for the future, those who've not yet been born, for those of us striving to thrive here in this present, and for our ancestors who lived and suffered so much with Jim Crow and slavery and all the wrongs that they have dealt with. We stand for all of them, and we are all here together at once. No more being denied the daily burden of being denied, overlooked. They have never had fair representation. They never had the opportunity to vote for leaders who had their interests at heart. But guess what, y'all? We do. We do because of the Voting Rights Act, and we're not turning back because we stand on history. So one more time, give it to me. Win, 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 win. Win. That's it from me. All right, y'all.
Good morning. My name is John Yang. I'm the president and executive director of Asian Americans Advancing Justice, AAJC. As an Asian American, I am so proud to be standing in solidarity with all of you, fighting for our right to vote. We know that we are all so much more powerful when we stand together. Stand together in the face of tyranny, in the face of authoritarianism. What we are facing today is an assault on all of us, and we need to recognize that. I look out right now and I see the posters of John Lewis, the posters of Fannie Lou Hamer, the posters of Dr. Martin Luther King, and I recognize the legacy that I stand upon in having our Voting Rights Act passed, having people fight for our rights. Why this matters so much to me as an Asian American is I know that that history gave me the rights that I have. It is no coincidence that in the year that the Voting Rights Act was passed was also the year in which the Immigration and Naturalization Act was passed. That was the act that gave Asian Americans, many immigrants, the right to come to the United States, the right to have citizenship in the United States, the right to have rights in the United States. For too long, Asian Americans were likewise excluded from the system. We're excluded from immigrating to the United States. We're excluded from being citizens. We're excluded from testifying in courts. It was because of the INA, the Immigration and Naturalization Act, coupled with the Voting Rights Act, that gave us both a voice, citizenship, and ability to participate in our democracy here in the United States. It is so important for all of us to stand together because we know there are forces that are trying to divide us, divide all of our communities, and suggest that it is this community's fault or that community's fault. That is not the case. We are all Americans here. And making sure that we are Americans means that we all have a voice here. And making sure that all of us have a vote here. Whether this is our first country, whether English is our first language, whether we have a disability, all of those things should not matter when we are citizens. So I'm here to stand with all of you brothers and sisters to make sure that we fight for our right to vote and not just defend the right to vote, but to advance our right to vote. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Come on now, protect our vote. Protect our vote. Protect our vote. Let me tell you, I'm Attorney Darrell Jones. I'm the board chair and co-leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and we're excited to be here today. But I tell you what, you know, there was a bunch of folks have come up to us periodically, and they would say to us that had I been alive in 1965 during the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have, they would have. Well, folks, today is your Edmund Pettus Bridge. And we are here fighting for voting rights, fighting for the rights of everyone to be able to access ballots without interception. You know, let me make a direct connection, because some of y'all ain't hearing what I'm saying. You know, the folks from the Edmund Pettus Bridge, those original foot soldiers, they're still on the ground. They're still on the battlefield. If you don't believe me, raise your cane. Phil Hunter, one of the original foot soldiers, right here, right here. And I want to be certain that y'all know that, you know, while we have a couple of hundred that may be here before the steps of the Supreme Court, that there are more folks that have gathered at what we call the scene of the sin in Louisiana. Yes. They have surrounded the Louisiana State Capitol. Yeah. These black ministers, these members of the League of Women Voters, these members of the Ordinary People Society have gotten together. The NAACP Louisiana have gotten together, and they said, we're going to pray at the site of this sin. Because we want y'all to know that we're there and we're in unison with what's happening in Washington, D.C. at the Supreme Court here today. Folks, it's my pleasure to bring up the president and the founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. I've always said that if the Supreme Court would just listen to Barbara Arnwine, we wouldn't be where we are now. Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Arnwine.
Oh, yes. Good morning. Grand Rising. Oh, it's beautiful to see every one of you here. It is beautiful to know that throughout the country, people are praying for this day. You see, 12 years ago, this court in 2013, when it decided that infamous, ugly decision in Shelby versus Holder, they said, don't worry about losing the power of Section 5 because you will always have the power of Section 2, the anti-discrimination provisions. But what are they doing right now? What are they doing right now? They are hearing an argument in which not only are they questioning the remedial power of majority black districts and majority minority districts, they're also challenging the Voting Rights Act itself. Folks, in this moment, we must be like John Lewis on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. Yeah. We must be like Fannie Lou Hamer, who had 50 shots in her door from people opposing her. We must be like Amelia Boynton Robinson. We must stand in their stead and say, no, not on our watch, that we will never yield our political power. We will never, ever, ever give up because future generations depend on us. Because justice is nothing but the word that is so essential in these times. Folks, I am so honored by your presence. I am so moved by everybody who got on a bus and drove here, and rode here. I'm so honored by everyone who has been speaking up in their churches and on calls and educating people. Folks, today is just the beginning. It is not the end. We will continue to educate our people. We will continue to challenge an administration that is wrong-headed. We will continue to say to this court, you already made a mistake this year. In the known case, not to mention last year with the U.S. versus Trump case, but now you have the nerve to say that racial profiling is allowed. Folks, justice, 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 justice demands that they hear us, demand that they see us, demand that the spirit of John Lewis falls upon them. It demands that every time we take another step in this fight, that we know that deep inside, as Harriet told us, as Sojourner whispered to us, as Malcolm proudly stood, that we know, as Martin Luther King gave his life, we know that we will win!
Good morning, beautiful people. I am Katora Butler-Reed, the National Training and Campaign Manager for the NAACP Youth and College Division. Woo! And I come before you today not just as national staff or someone who's proudly representing the oldest, the boldest, the most fearless civil rights organization in the nation, but I come to you before you as someone who lives in Louisiana's 6th Congressional District, the very district at the heart of this case. When I think about the legacy of the Voting Rights Act and the people who fought, bled, and died to protect it, people like Medgar Evers, Fannie Lou Hamer, John Lewis, I'm reminded of why I vote and why this vote and this fight is not just personal, but it's pivotal and it's a very historical moment. I vote because I have a grandfather who fought in the Vietnam War only to return home to neighborhoods in this very district, communities that were often overlooked and underrepresented, yet he remains one of the fiercest champions of this democracy. I vote because I am proud of the great history and culture of Louisiana, down to our food and music and how we shape the very soul of this country. I vote because my mother, freshly graduating from Louisiana State University, she decided to move to Atlanta days before Hurricane Katrina hit, seeking safety, opportunity, better education, better access, and new open doors for my future. And that move tells us the story of how many of us have had to leave home to survive, even as our hearts remain rooted in Louisiana. Now more than ever, lawmakers must prioritize upholding voting rights for all people in Louisiana. Let's be clear, this fight is about ensuring that every voter in Louisiana has an equal and fair voice in our democracy, especially those who have been historically excluded from it. This is not about partisanship. It is about fairness, equity, and justice. Louisiana versus Callais represents the latest attempt to weaken the Voting Rights Act by limiting Section 2's standing in the redistricting process. The Voting Rights Act was passed to do away with racial discrimination in our elections, yet in Louisiana, exclusion continues. Inclusive representation isn't just about politics. It's about justice. Inclusive representation is what matters. Louisiana's maps finally honor the promise of the Voting Rights Act by giving Black voters a fair chance to choose leaders who reflect their lived experiences and priorities. The outcome of this case will determine whether communities of colors across America can continue to have a meaningful voice in our democracy. So today we urge the court to stand on the right side of history. We urge them to protect and not erode the progress so many of us fought to achieve. Louisiana, and more importantly, the entire nation is watching. The right to vote is the cornerstone of American democracy. And the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is essential in ensuring that every voice can be heard at the ballot box. So I want to go back to why I vote. I vote because our college chapters and our youth councils have thousands of students across the country who are excited about voting. They're eager to learn about how this democracy impacts them. They're actively working toward a better and more sustainable future. But for our youth councils, for our college chapters, our adult branches, our veterans, our hometown heroes, in order for them to be uplifted, we must uphold the legacy of those fierce champions like those I've mentioned, John Lewis, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Medgar Evers. So make no mistake, what happens here will shape what happens everywhere. This decision will signal whether our nation chooses to move forward in the spirit of equality, in the spirit of equity, or backwards into exclusion. Because when Louisiana fights for justice, we are fighting for the future of democracy itself. So I am comforted in knowing that in these times we unite. I'm comforted in knowing in these times we fight. But most importantly, I remember that when we fight, we win. I said when we fight, we win. Thank you.
My name is Bobby Scott. Excuse my voice, I had a little cold. Bobby Scott, a member of the House of Representatives representing the 3rd District in Virginia, the ranking member on education and workforce. And let me tell you, they have been attacking our civil rights since the beginning of this administration, and the voting rights are the most important right we have. We need to make sure we fight for voting rights at every opportunity in the legislative branch, in the judicial branch, in the streets, and every other kind of way, because all of our rights emanate from the right to vote. And so I'm joining my fraternity members, Alpha Phi Alpha, who for 100 years have had a theme of a voteless people is a hopeless people, and we're going to make sure that we maintain our civil rights, maintain our voting rights, and you can count on us on fighting from start to finish. So thank you for coming out and letting people know that they're not going to take away our voting rights and let us just watch. We're going to fight tooth and nail all the way. Thank you so much.
Good morning, revolutionaries. Did you hear me? Good morning, revolutionaries. Thank you. you all so much for being here today. I am so honored to stand with you. My name is Selena Stewart. I am CEO of the League of Women Voters of the United States. At the heart of this issue, we have heard many speakers speak about it, but I want to take a moment and acknowledge Janae, who is our advocate today, but she is also our divine messenger. And so we are going to touch and agree, if anyone is familiar with that, we're going to touch and agree that she has what she needs and that God is going to equip her with what she needs before this court today. Can we say amen? So let's talk about, should this court protect Voting Rights Act? Are you sure? Is this court supposed to be independent? Yes! And is the 14th Amendment the very amendment that says equal protection under the law? Of course it does. This act is supposed to and does and has prevented racial discrimination. This is not rocket science, this is history. The people of Louisiana already know they make up 1/3 of the voting population in the state. They are a force. And that is not just representation, what they're talking about today. It is talking about, we are talking about exclusion, and that is ludicrous. Every community has the right to choose their leaders that reflect their values. And they are questioning that in this case. But let me tell you what is not in question. Our humanity is not in question. Our dignity is not in question. Our rights should never be in question, because that is so dangerous for our democracy, what is happening. So we have to make sure that we do not remain silent, and all of you are showing that we are not. But we cannot remain silent no matter what comes against us. We know what our protection is. And when we unite, we rise, baby. We stand up for one another, and that is the protection of us all. So any threat against one of us is a threat against all of us. That is democracy in action. This is democracy in action. Now I'm going to go spiritual for a second. The book of Galatians, chapter 5:14 says, you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I don't know about y'all, but we need way more love in this country than what we're seeing right now. So to the justices inside the courtroom, hear me loud and clear. The people are watching. And whether this administration, whether this Congress holds you accountable, we will. Because our democracy is worth fighting for. So I will say, let us remain united. Let nothing come between us, because right now it deserves and requires unequivocal solidarity in this moment. Let's keep rising. Let's lean into love over hate. And let's keep fighting not only for fair maps, but to take our damn country back.
When I say black voters, you say matter. Black voters. Black voters. When I say love, you say power. Love. Love. I want to let you all know that it just started. Janae just started a few seconds ago. I want to take just a couple of seconds. I know I was supposed to speak, but I want to take just a couple of seconds because we're rooted in our faith, right? And we understand that the true power is not in this courtroom. We understand where the true power is. And so in that, I want to just take a moment of prayer to ask in this moment that we stand and we pray that God gives clarity, give courage, and stand into our folks that are standing there as all the other black lawyers and other lawyers of consciousness that are in there to defend the rights of the American people, that we want to just stay in a moment, a silent moment, whatever your faith tradition is, to pray and to ask that the Holy Creator would give them all they need to speak truth to power. Where you see wrong or inequity or injustice, speak out. Because this is your country. This is your democracy. Make it, protect it, pass it on. That was said by a wise man named Justice Thurgood Marshall. We stand on the shoulders of giants, y'all. Just as Janae is in there right now and the LDF team, let's hear it for LDF. Are still standing and fighting for us. You know, our black legal minds understood something simple. They knew that the Supreme Court does not police itself, but that we do. Thurgood Marshall, Charles Hamilton Houston, Constant Riker Motley, Pauli Murray. They didn't beg for justice, y'all. They demanded it, and they shaped it in this nation. We made the court bend towards it, and now it's our turn and our season. We didn't come here to beg. We didn't. Just like we're seeing a reconstruction outside, what we know is that this nation needs a reconstruction of the heart. That what we know is those justices in there need to stand, and they're here not to take away rights from people, but they're supposed to protect the rights of the people. What we know is, let me tell you what else we know. We know that the Supreme Court, we don't need a Supreme Court of the past. We done that already. What we need is a Supreme Court of the future. What we need long gone, y'all, are the days that folks are going to accept being second-class citizens. We told y'all we're not going back. And we will fight till eternity until you do right by us. Ain't nothing is going to go right. And so in that space, when the court considers dismantling Section 2, they're not ruling on a technicality. They're really deciding who are citizens and who should be protected. That's what they're deciding. We are the children of y'all. Y'all need to understand who we are. We are the children of the ancestors who literally did not have a lot of resources, did not have political parties on their side, but they had courage in their heart. They knew that ultimately that their citizenship, that they were valued and they were valuable people. And so they stood in the space knowing we are the ones who call America to its own words. We are the consciousness of this nation. We make America be accountable. When the Declaration said all men are created equal, they weren't thinking about us, but we forced this nation to live up to that promise. When the Constitution says we the people, it didn't mean us, but we made it mean us and everybody else. Every expansion of democracy in this country has been led or even involved by us. Every time America gets closest to its ideas, it's because we have pushed it there. The 13th Amendment, we made that happen. The 14th Amendment, we made that happen. The 15th Amendment, we made that happen. Voting Rights Act, we made that happen because we stood on what was right. We stood in the space of righteousness, and that's what you got to do now. Yeah, there's this idea that, folks, what we're seeing right now, people are weaponizing fear because they want us to be afraid. In every element, we're seeing children being snatched from their families. We're seeing ICE going other places. We're now seeing this fight on voting rights. But you need to know what the scripture says. The scripture says that perfect love drives out all fear. And so what we're saying is we're standing in the space of perfect love. What does that mean? That means that we've got perfect love for our fellow man. Right? That means that we've got perfect love for justice. Right? That means that we got perfect love for freedom. That is who we are. We are, in truth, the founders of American democracy. Not because we wrote the Constitution, but because we made it mean something. We made it live up to what it means. So perhaps you've come here today we've given this court an opportunity, a historic opportunity to show itself as legitimate and as independent and just. It's an opportunity to prove that the court still understands its purpose, not to serve the powerful, but to protect the Constitution and the people that it belongs to. Perhaps this is the moment that the Supreme Court decides who it wants to be. Will you be the court of the future or the court of the past? Will you protect the people or will you just protect some people? Will you expand democracy or will you contract it? Will you have courage or will you bow down to bullies? Will you stand on what is right and on the right side of history, or will you stand against those who have walked and bled and died
for democracy in this country. So this is what I know America needs to understand, and what the Supreme Court needs to understand. We ain't going backwards. We're not going backwards. We will fight this to every breath in our body. Because my humanity matters. Your humanity matters. Like, we're not going backwards. We are only going forward. And we see ourselves beyond just being citizens of a nation. We are founders of a new nation, an America that we desire and we deserve, that is yet unborn. We will make sure that every word in that Constitution is held to the highest. That we are in this space right now because we who believe in freedom shall not, will not, cannot rest until it comes. And as I get ready to go to my seat, every single one of y'all out here, I want you to, you are the survivors. That we have survived worse. That at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of all that serve in leadership in this country to serve us, not for us to serve them. Every single institution that does not serve the people, we got to check it. We've got to be the check for that. This ain't just one day. This ain't about one case. We know this is about an onslaught that we're seeing with innocent families and children and people. At the end of the day, our humanity is what will save us. Our politics won't save us, y'all. It shall be our humanity. And so stand strong in this moment. Stand in the history of your folks. But know that right now that you got to make history. It's your turn. It is our up. It's our up, y'all. It's the moment that we literally can shape and take this nation to the next level, which is time. It's time. Right. We're going into a new level. You got to elevate and go to a new level in our thinking, in our fight, in our community. The only thing that is going to save us and protect us is each other. So all of you that are out there, thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for standing strong. Thank you for demonstrating perfect love. Thank you for standing for justice. When I say love, you say power. Love. Love. When I say peace, you say justice. Peace. Peace. When I say black voters, you say matter. Black voters. Black voters. Peace and love, y'all.
Good morning. I have to tell you, Latasha Brown took us to church, and then they said, Fatima Gosgraves, get up there. And my name is Fatima Gosgraves. I'm the president and CEO of the National Women's Law Center. We've been around for half a century working to advance, protect, and defend the rights of women and girls in this country, and that includes the most foundational right to vote. So listen, I woke up thinking about my sister, Janae Nelson.
That's right.
And inside, I know she will be doing her very best to fight for all of us. Because that's how she works and does her work. That's how the Legal Defense Fund does its work. But I will tell you, thinking about Janae reminded me about all the activists who made that promise of citizenship real for all people. Folks like Amelia Boynton Robinson, and Ella Baker, and Ida B. Wells, and Mary Church Terrell. These Black women who are on the front lines of the battle to secure the Voting Rights Act, they understood that it was a necessary foundation for everything else, for our freedom, for our safety, for our economic security. So it's these women who are on my mind outside this court as Janae is inside that court doing her very best on behalf of all of us. We also know we are in a wild time, y'all. It is wild to see out loud the extremists in this country who want to take us so very far back. They want to make the right to vote nothing but words on a paper. They want to take away anything that feels real about our ability to have these rights. I believe Janae will convince this court that if it is doing its job, it will find that Louisiana must ensure that Black voters can elect the representative of their choice. And we all must hold that as our faith and belief and expectation of this Supreme Court, that it will continue to do its job. But we also know too well what it looks like when words are just words on a paper and not real in our lives. We know what it means for Black folks to have laws that say they can vote, but for that vote not to be real. We've been there before. People in our lives are still alive. They will tell you they've been there before. So perhaps it's because, I think about why do they fear the power of Black voters? Perhaps it's because they know voting is used to unlock a whole other freedoms. That's why you see states trying to dilute our power. Maybe it's because they see Black women voting in historic numbers, election after election after election. Maybe it's because when Black women vote, we vote for the ability to control our own bodies. Or maybe it's because when we vote, we think about our communities that could be safer and stronger. Or maybe it's because when we vote, we are voting to secure our ability to have freedom, not just for ourselves, but for every single other person in this country. So you've already heard today the Amelia Boynton Robinson quote that a voteless people is a hopeless people. I want to tell you something else she said. She said, "Get off of my shoulders. The foundation has been laid, and now it's time for you to build it and get to work." So my question for you this morning, no matter what the justices say inside that building, are you ready to get to work? In honor of Amelia and Ella and Ida, are you ready to get to work? In honor of Janae and Melanie and Latasha, will you get to work? On behalf of our mothers and our grandmothers and our great-grands, let's get to work.
Good morning. I'm Tara Murray with the National Urban League, and it's great to be here and see all of you. In our State of Black America report this year, the National Urban League declared that we are in a state of emergency. And nowhere is that clearer than right here today in front of the Supreme Court, where inside the Voting Rights Act once again hangs in the balance. 7 months ago, many of us stood together miles from here. And I know there are buses that have come in from Selma, Alabama. We crossed the bridge 7 months ago to commemorate what happened there 60 years ago. Ordinary citizens risked everything to claim the most basic, the most fundamental right in a democracy, the right to vote. They were beaten. They were bloodied. They were jailed. But they did not back down, and we won't either. From their sacrifice came the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And let us be clear, without the full protection of that law, which is what is at stake today, the right to vote is not secure. And this nation will never live up to its promise of being the democracy it has long claimed to be. Though this case is called Louisiana versus Callais, we know that this is much bigger than one map in one state. It's about whether the voices of those who are most vulnerable in our society will be heard or will be silenced. What happens here today will shape whether communities across America can have a fair chance at representation. And when communities are silenced, the decisions that shape our daily lives, decisions about our jobs, decisions about our schools, decisions about our health care, Decisions about our housing are made without our input. And that is not democracy. That is not equal justice under law. But that is what we are up against today. We are living in a moment of rising authoritarianism, where some would rather silence our communities than share power. But history teaches us that every attempt they have made to weaken our voices has only strengthened our movement. The National Urban League is here today to say that the promise of America cannot be realized if we allow voting rights protections to be gutted piece by piece. We reject the false argument that protecting Black voters' rights is discrimination.
That's right.
Remedying discrimination is not a violation of the Constitution. It is the fulfillment of it. So today we say, we will not be silenced. Say it with me. We will not be silenced. We demand fair maps. We demand voting rights. And we demand a democracy that includes all of us, not just some of us. The law is on our side. History is on our side. Our future is on our side. And you, we, the people, are on our side. Thank you.
How you doing out there? You feeling powerful yet? Are you sure? Are you really, really sure? My name is Melanie Campbell. I'm president and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation. I'm national convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And I came here this morning because I don't know about you, but I'm mad as hell. You mad yet? Are you powerfully mad? That's all right. I'm standing with some of my colleagues here this morning. You know, I've been out here for a long time, longer than I want to admit. But the one thing I do understand is the God I serve. The God we serve, the God you serve, is never going to leave us wanting. These folks think they got the power, but say it with me, we are the power. We built this country, and we're not going nowhere. Church over there, so for nearly 50 years, the National Coalition, we have been in the trenches, fighting every single day for equal representation, for civic engagement, for economic empowerment, and for your and my right to vote. Over 60 years ago, the Voting Rights Act of '65 became the law of the land. It was bipartisan. Matter of fact, in 2006, Congressman, we reauthorized the Voting Rights Act because we went down to Houston and Texas and across this country and demanded that our voting rights be protected. A lot of folks don't understand. It's a law, but it has no teeth because of these folks in here. And they want to take the rest of the teeth out of it. But we're not going to let them do that because they want us to feel powerless. You know, it's some evil stuff going on in this town. I've been here 30 years. I've never seen the kind of evil that's going on. So we have to be armored and understand who we are and whose we are. We built this country. Did we? So we ain't going no damn where. We built it brick by brick, and as a matter of fact, we helped build this and that over there and that on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Black people, we are a mighty race. They never stopped coming for us. We had the first Reconstruction that came for us. Then they did Jim Crow, and they came for us. And then there was the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and then the Voting Rights Act, and the Fair Housing Act. And we went on, and then we had the audacity. We care why they're doing this. We had the audacity to elect a black man twice and a black woman to be the vice president, and almost became the president of the United States. And there are people who don't want to share the country that we built. I know I'm getting close to my time. So, you know, I'm a call and a response girl because I believe we're going to put it in the atmosphere. And we have to believe it in our gut. And no matter what they think they're going to decide in there, we are the power. Say it with me. We are the power. We are the power. We are God's children. We built this country. We will not be erased. There's power in the ballot. Power in the people. Power in the people. Power in the ballot. We are America. We're not going nowhere. God is on our side. Peace and power. Let's do this. Let's stay in the fight. And always there's an election. There's an election. No matter what they do, we will not let them take our vote away. Peace and power. God bless.
Let me quickly thank the persons who have organized this most necessary event. I don't know all of the names, but I know that they deserve some expression of appreciation. Would you give them an expression of appreciation, please? I have been asked to be terse and laconic, pithy and concise. I will do as best as I can, given that a member of Congress will rarely use one word where two will do. So, dear friends, let me just remind you that this is about race. This is about race, and it started on August the 20th of 1619. I'm not going to walk you through every event, but that's when the first persons of African ancestry were introduced into the colonies that became the United States of America. This is about race. They were brought here because of their color. They were identifiable. The Civil War ended 240 plus years of slavery, but it didn't end racism. After racism, there was convict leasing. Convict leasing lasted for almost a century. It was ended, but when it ended, it did not end racism. After convict leasing, we had segregation, lawful segregation, another form of racism. When lawful segregation was ended with Brown versus the Board of Education, it did not end racism. Racism exists in the United States of America to this day, and we gotta fight racism. Are you prepared to fight the racism that the Supreme Court has to address? Yes. Will you stand with me and fight against this racism that will be hidden under the guise of doing something that is simply politically expedient? That's what the Supreme Court is saying. If you draw these lines and in your mind you harbor hate and you are a racist, but if you simply say, I did it for political advantage, it's okay, because I'll never be able to prove what was in your mind. That's where the Supreme Court is bringing us. So today, our message to the Supreme Court has to be very simply this. Supreme Court, just remember that there is still racism in the United States of America. Remember that ending slavery didn't end racism. Ending Brown versus the Board of, possibly passing Brown versus the Board of Education as they did not end slavery or racism. There's still some slavery going on around the world. So my final words, thank you everybody for allowing me to speak. But will you please remember that this court, it does not have the last word. We, the people, have the last word. And we, the people, will take a stand against any decision that does not include what we, the people, desire that is lawful in this country. And having Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is lawful, we must protect Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Let's do it together. Let's do it now. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it forever. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alma Cuberti. I'm the Senior Vice President for Campaigns and Organizing, and I am here on behalf of Common Cause, representing our members from every single congressional district in this great country. And we're here today because we know that redistricting is so much more than just lines on a map. Can I have an amen? Fair maps mean fair representation. Fair maps mean votes, and fair maps mean a fair future for all. And let's be clear, let's tell the truth. For far too long, some politicians have been rigging the rules of the game. They've been drawing maps in secret, in back rooms, using their power to protect their own jobs, not to serve the people.
but we see you. And we're here to say no more. What do we say? No more. Louder so they can hear you. No more. Right now inside this building, the Supreme Court is rehearing Louisiana versus Callais, a case that could silence our voices for a generation, a case that could gut the Voting Rights Act and disproportionately harm Black voters and all communities of color. Yes. So let me ask you, do we want to go back? No. Hell no. Will we allow them to take us back? We cannot, and we will not go back. Just look at our history. The women's suffrage movement, the labor movement, the civil rights movement, the LGBTQ rights movement, they all showed us that progress is won when we the people stand up, speak out, and demand accountability. Right. They face intimidation. They even face violence, but they never gave up, and neither will we. And to everyone that's watching through streams and phones right now in your offices, we also see you. Your voice matters in this fight because this is a collective struggle from coast to coast. And we are not alone. The majority of the American people are with us. Get this, our poll shows that 84% of the voters, 84% say fair district lines are vital to our democracy. That's not just a margin, that's a mandate. So the question is, to the 9 justices inside this court, whose side are you on? Will you stand with politicians in the back rooms? Or will you stand with the people? We call on you to stand with the people, to stand for our Constitution, and to stand for voting rights. Stand by the people, right to fair representation, our right to a fair vote, and the right to a fair future for all. Our voices will be heard. Our votes will be counted, and our future will be just. Se puede! Let's do it again. Se puede! Sí, se puede! Se puede! Se puede! Sí, se puede! Thank you!
Good morning, everybody! Thank you to our host and thank you to all of you for being here. My name is Doug Lindner and I'm with League of Conservation Voters. We at LCV know that everything we care about, everything we believe in, everything we fight for, depends on the right to vote. Voting is how we get the lead out of our drinking water. Voting is how we protect our public lands. Voting is how we fight the big polluters, stop the climate crisis, and pass on a livable world to the next generation. Voting is the right that protects all other rights. But for most of our history, millions of Americans were denied their most fundamental right. 155 years ago, in the wake of a devastating civil war, we amended the U.S. Constitution to protect Black voters from discrimination. But that promise was broken. So 95 years later, at the height of the civil rights movement, with massive bipartisan majorities, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, the nation's most important civil rights law. For decades thereafter, Congress repeatedly reauthorized the Voting Rights Act, again with massive bipartisan support. As recently as 2006, it passed the Senate unanimously. But now, today, our precious multiracial democracy is once again in jeopardy. The threats come from gerrymandering, from voter suppression, from a Supreme Court that has repeatedly gutted the Voting Rights Act, from a Trump administration that has decimated voting rights enforcement at the Justice Department, from a Congress that turns a blind eye to the problem, and from extremist politicians and judges rolling back voting rights as much as they think they can get away with. But they are on the wrong side of history, because the law is on our side. The facts are on our side. The people are on our side. Black Louisianans and voters of color nationwide have fought too long and too hard to let the freedom to choose their own leaders slip away. When voting rights hero John Lewis passed away 5 years ago, he reminded us that democracy is not a state, it is an act. And every generation must do its part. This generation will do its part, am I right? Will this generation do our part? Yes! We will. We will pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We will pass the Freedom to Vote Act. We will pass statehood for the people of Washington, D.C. And we will never, ever, ever stop fighting for our democracy. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Terrence McKinley. I am the Vice President of Movement Building and Strategy at the National Black Child Development Institute. And I'm also the pastor of Campbell African Methodist Episcopal Church. The late Assata Shakur once said, "It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains." Assata's words echo across generations. They are a sacred charge, a modern psalm of resistance. They remind us that love is not passive, that freedom is not a gift, and that duty, holy duty, is the bridge between the world we intend and the one we are called to build. The ink of injustice has stained this nation's maps for too long. Lines drawn in secrecy have written stories in silence, yet truth, like our people, refuses to be silenced or erased. This fight, this moment, is bigger than Louisiana. It is about whether America will finally live up to its promise, because when lines are drawn in silence, they don't just divide districts, they divide destinies. Louisiana is an exception. Louisiana is not an exception. It is an example, a mirror reflecting the soul of our nation. 1/3 of Louisianans are Black, yet only 1 in 6 congressional seats reflects their voice. This is not democracy, that is distortion. And when representation is fair, communities rise, children flourish. Data tells us where maps are fair, laws are stronger for child health, education, family well-being. History tells us when the Voting Rights Act was enforced, Black children born in protected counties rose higher, lived longer, and dreamed bigger. At the National Black Child Development Institute, we proclaim with power and purpose that every Black child should be born at a healthy weight, should learn safely, should eat well, breathe clean air, and see themselves reflected in the books that they read. Because when policy is just, children are protected. When power is shared, hope multiplies. And when our children thrive, democracy itself breathes again. So we stand here. We stand here in the shadow of the Supreme Court, and we must tell the truth. We must. Somebody say we must. These systems were not designed for our full thriving, but we protect what our ancestors built, and we create what our children deserve. We are not just guarding old structures. We are building new ones rooted in love and justice. We are not just defending democracy. We are redeeming it. The prophet Amos said, "Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream." That stream began with our ancestors, and it flows with all of us who are here today. This is Sankofa, reaching back to draw forward with strength from those who marched before us. We must dream forward and act now. Somebody shout, "Dream forward, act now." We must do this because we recognize that as we gather today, we are not in despair, but in determination, that every generation pushed the line forward. And so we push until maps reflect justice. We push until every law honors children. We push until every voice is counted and heard. We push until the lines that once divide us become the lines that unite us. We push until they are lines of equity, lines of possibility, lines of shared power, because we fight for Black children. We fight for the very soul of our nation, its heartbeat, it's hope, it's promise. And when we rise, when our children rise, when black children rise, we all rise. So it's our duty to fight. It's our duty to win. We must love each other. We must support each other until freedom is their very air that they breathe, until justice rolls down like mighty waters. We will not stop until. Somebody shout until. Somebody shout dream forward. Act now.
Morning, everyone. Let me hear you again. Let me hear the power. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bethany Lee from the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. ALDEF is a national civil rights organization founded more than half a century ago in New York City to protect and promote the rights of Asian Americans and those most marginalized in our communities. We're honored to stand here today with all of you, our colleagues at LDF, to defend the Voting Rights Act and the promise of a multiracial democracy. Since the beginning, when black people fought for the right to vote, this fight has been about who belongs and who gets to shape America. Our rights as citizens and residents in this country have never been under more threat than right now. This administration continues to carve out communities, whole communities, from the fabric of America. And the impact of that means that our communities will lose political voice. We won't let that happen. This fight for fair maps before the Supreme Court today, you know, people have said it repeatedly today, is more than just about Louisiana. It represents the crux of our democracy's future, which includes Asian communities that are growing in power and number, like the ones that we at ALDEF represent. Whatever the outcome, ALDEF is prepared to continue getting in good trouble with all of you. We will push forward to make sure our communities are represented. We will continue our work on State Voting Rights Act, like the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act of New York. We will continue to fight for language access at the ballots, at the polls, because this is an issue that's especially critical for immigrant communities. The promise of the Voting Rights Act is far from being realized. And if Section 2 is weakened, the effects will be felt for generations to come. As our demographics change in this country, our political representation must reflect our population. Because ultimately, this fight is a fight for the foundation of our multiracial democracy. So we stand here together today with all of you in this fight that generations before us have also fought for our communities. And we declare loudly and proudly that not only do we belong, but we are here to stay. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Devontae Lewis, and for over 3 years, I have served as one of the Robinson litigants, fighting for a fair and just and equitable congressional map in the state of Louisiana. And for those same 3 years, I was elected to the Louisiana Public Service Commission as the youngest and only third black person to ever serve on this body in Louisiana. A district that was only created after the threat of VRA litigations the same year that I was born. For me, our fight for fair representation is multi-generational. I'm reminded about someone I learned so much about as a young boy, my great-great-great-grandmother Liza. Born in Sheraton, Louisiana in 1873. She moved there after her mother and her father were released from a plantation in New Orleans. 8 years she was born after slavery ended. My great-great-grandmother, known as Alberta, or we like to call her Mom, was born in 1901. She was born 5 years after Plessy v. Ferguson. My great-grandmother, Viola, who raised me and I lived with her until 2012, was born in 1920. She was born the year that women got the right to vote. My grandmother, Stella, who's probably watching right now, was born in 1948. 6 years old. That's how old she was when Brown v. Board of Education came before the Supreme Court. And it was 5 months before her 18th birthday that the Voting Rights Act was passed. And then there's my mother, Nicole, who was 5 years old before Louisiana finally desegregated every school in 1976. That's 152 years from the date my great-great-grandmother was born to this very moment. She had a letter that had been passed down in our family from generation to generation. And she asked, did they see you? Did they hear you? Did they value you? It was 3 years ago that Minnie and I were at the redistricting session at the state legislature when I asked the state lawmakers that very question. Do you see me? Do you hear me? And do you value me? I was tired, and I'm still tired. And we are all tired after fighting every session for a fair map. And time again, having the state of Louisiana reject us and reject a map that didn't dilute black voters and our power. We had to go to federal court to gain rights our lawmakers denied us. There's not a right that a black person has in Louisiana that a federal court didn't give us. And it was only after litigation after litigation after litigation that the state of Louisiana and the lawmakers finally gave us a fair map as the only way forward. Yes, sir. But here we are today, now facing a threat that our fair map will be stripped right from under us. And with it, the very protections of the Voting Rights Act that the generations I spoke of, my foremothers and forefathers, fought so hard for, can be depleted. I am the youngest of the Robinson interveners, and the most senior member of us all is Dr. Press Robinson. He was 28 years old when the Voting Rights Act was signed, while I wasn't born for another 28 years. You see, we are in this fight together. This is a multi-generational fight because we all need the Voting Rights Act, now more than ever. The history that we showcase is why we have moved forward, but we still got work to do. And today, we, the Robinson interveners, some of us who had to stay home in Louisiana, some of us who are inside the courtroom, and some of us who are outside right here with you, like Dr. Nair and Dr. Washington, we are standing here asking the Supreme Court, do you see us? Do you hear us? Do you value us? Because we shall not be moved. Thank you.
I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful activists and speakers who have spoken thus far. I consider it a privilege to be here with all of you, with all of your power and all of your leadership. I'm Gloria Blackwell, the Chief Executive Officer of the American Association of University Women. Shout out to AAUW. AAUW has spent generations expanding education, leadership, and opportunity because a healthy democracy needs every voice and every talent. I stand here like so many before me as a Black woman, as a voter, and a leader of an organization that knows representation isn't just a favor, it's a foundation. Do you agree? Today's case asks whether Black voters in Louisiana will finally get fair maps, and whether the Voting Rights Act still has the strength to protect real communities in the real world. Louisiana's Black population, as you have heard,
deserves an equal opportunity to participate in the political process. Only one congressional district isn't balanced for Black folks. That's silencing. And it ripples across the policies that shape daily life in schools, in jobs, and in healthcare. AAUW's mission lives at this intersection. When maps erase people, classrooms lose resources, civil rights protections stall, student parents are forgotten, and women's economic security is sidelined. You know that's true, right? Because voting rights are women's rights. They are education rights. They are family-sustaining wage rights. When our communities are visible on the map, our needs are visible in the law. So to this court, I say respectfully and firmly, the Voting Rights Act, it's not a relic. It is a lifeline. Colorblind, without context, too often becomes power blind, history blind, and reality blind. Remedies must see the harms women and Black voters still face and repair them. Design maps that see Black voters, women, and students as full communities, because when we are visible on the map, we are visible in the law. And fair maps are the foundation of fair policy. When they try to shrink our voices, we must grow our chorus. When they try to turn back the clock, we must wind it forward and turn out just like today. When they try to divide us, we must link arms, students, scholars, leaders, and workers. And because when women vote, we change the conversation. Black women know that we change the conversation. We change who is at the table, what is on the agenda, and how boldly we pursue equity. Fair maps make that change possible and also durable. Our democracy works when all voters can make their voices heard. AAUW will continue to teach the skills, support the leaders, and defend the guardrails, because truth is a civic muscle. Please join us and every organization here for this fight. And as we know, this isn't just about Louisiana. We're all here for fair maps, for fair chances, and for a future where every voice counts and every vote matters. May this court affirm what America promised so long ago, that the right to vote, undiluted, undistorted, and undenied, belongs to all of us. When I say fair maps, you say fair chances. Fair maps. Fair maps. Fair maps. Thank you.
Good morning. Now, I'd like to take a minute to thank all of the women and elders that came before me. Can we get a round of applause for them? It's not easy to come up here and come across the country to talk about injustices, but it's what we must do every day, more and more in these dire times. So I'm here. My name is Russell Armstrong. I'm here on behalf of Black Futures Lab. I'm a senior manager for policy and campaigns. We exist to transform Black communities into constituencies that change the way power operates, locally and nationally. We work to make Black communities powerful in politics. We close the gap between our communities, Black communities, and the tools needed to build that power, especially as the rules keep changing and stripped from the many to the few. We're allowed for good. However, those in power keep experimenting with our rights for evil. It's been 60 years since the passage of the VRA. 60 years is less than a lifetime. This is not ancient history. There are people alive today who still existed before we had actual rights to vote. That's why this matters.
We have had laws protecting the rights of black people to pursue their political rights and fair representation for less than the time that some of you have been alive. First Shelby, now this. It's imperative that we call out these injustices here. We cannot entertain a deliberate lie that racial discrimination somehow is not worth protecting, but is instead our fault, and that we should embrace more racial discrimination. They want to keep us boxed out of power. They want to take us back to the times of Jim Crow, where they are cracking and packing districts, creating one set of rules for themselves and another set for us. And when I say they, let me be clear, I mean certain and specific people, including this racist administration, who want to turn back the clock to Jim Crow and the Reconstruction. So we at Black Futures Lab understand that threat, and that's why we stand here today with all of these proud partners and you all. We stand with partners like LDF and Black Voters Matter because we know that folks in Black rural America, in small town America, have the capacity, just by numbers alone, to change the balance of power across the South. We are more than a third of the people in Louisiana, yet they continue to try and keep us down. Since 2022, we as an organization have deployed teams into districts like Monroe, Louisiana, Valdosta, Georgia, to bring civic education, leadership development, and hope to our fellow brothers and sisters and thousands who are out of the way. This year's and last year's election, we worked with groups and we worked with Black communities throughout together to make sure that the backbone of what American democracy aspires to be continues to exist. In my final words, our courage makes democracy possible, but it cannot succeed standing alone. Thank you.
We have to stand united. So before I get into the spiel of the speech and my call to action for you all, I need you to repeat after me. Y'all ready? Ready. I need y'all to be ready. Y'all ready? Ready. This is our movement, not a moment. This is our movement and not a moment. We are better together. It's a lot of us that need to hear that. We are better together. We are rooted and not right. Let me tell you something about this movement. Let me tell you something about our people. Sometimes we get tired. We're sick and tired. But we are rooted and not rotted. I am Lakita M. Smith, the Executive Director and Founder of Abella La Film Society. And I'm the force. I'm the power. And I am this civil rights movement. When I say I mean we. Because not all the time somebody can fly to DC and do this and stand on the steps of the Supreme Court. But I am my sister's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. And again, like they say in the 9th Ward, we do what we want. So we're here to do just that. Because the last time I checked, activism didn't ask for permission. And if I see that on social media, you better quote me. I want to take a moment to thank all of you. I know what it takes to be here. I stood here and did this in March, in the rain, in the cold, for hours, as we hosted, as we waited on democracy. Today, we're no longer waiting on democracy. We're taking democracy. Because power is rooted in what we believe. And I need to know that y'all believe. I need to know that y'all not playing. I need to know that y'all rooted and not right. So what that look like is doing your job when you go back home. Being kind. Understanding when we need some grace and mercy. Learning how to treat and talk to each other. It starts with us. They done brought us to church. Latasha done gave us everything we need. Melody done gave us everything we need. Normally I curse. I'm not going to curse, but y'all already know what time of day it is with me. Again, I'm from the 9th Ward of New Orleans. And I said what I said. Spend some time. I need y'all to do 2 things for me. Be in the moment right now where we are, where we stand, united. One voice, one power, one people. The American people. The dream that they love to steal. The culture that they love to mark. The skin tone that they try to get. The power and the voice that they try to silence. I need y'all in this moment with me. Because behind me, we have our people fighting for us. So in this moment, let's send the power, the love, the respect, the resiliency, the fight, everything that we need to our people. Because why is all power to who? The people. Is it power to the people?
Yeah. All power. That's all right.
Is it power to the people? But here, listen, we talk over everything. We talk over everything. We shall not be moved. We shall not be shaken. What noise? What noise? All right. And do. We appreciate you standing here with us. We thank you. Because this is not easy. And as you travel back, don't be dismayed.
God will.
We're removing chains. We're removing change and we demand change. We are removing chains. Let me hear you.
We are removing chains.
Because we demand change. I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of people in my movement. And I thank you. To my friends and my family back home, I thank you for allowing me to do what I do. Thank you to LDF. Thank you to Power Coalition. Thank you for always believing in the dream of the people and putting the people and the power of the people first. We have our marching orders, but it starts with us. And before I get from up here, we're going to say this one more time. We are rooted and not rotten. We are rooted and not rotten. Again, I'm Lakita M. Smith from the 9th Ward of New Orleans.
Right. You say love, power. Love, power. Love, power. Because be clear, that is why we are here. About love and about power. Not that weak stuff. We're talking about love that is reeking in power. And power that is reeking in love. That's why we are here today in this very moment. And so we're with Black Voters Matter. I'm April. Brother Cliff is going to join me. He didn't want to join me. I made him join me because he's been a fighter in this moment for this time. And so we wanted to make sure that he had something that his voice is also captured today. But I want to say this is not holy ground.
No, it's not.
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
This is not
holy ground. Because we know behind us,
Come on now.
for centuries, they were the architect, they being SCOTUS, were the architect of our terror. Starting with the Dred Scott decision.
Come on, and walk the line.
Deciding that in that time, even though this was a country that had quote unquote free states and non-enslaved states, despite that, this SCOTUS said it didn't matter where you lived as a black person in this country. White people had no rights, right? That black folks had no rights that white folks had to respect. So it didn't matter if you were in a free state. Your rights were not protected, and that started here. And so one of the first things this court did with its third branch power,
come on now,
is to nationalize slavery.
Tell the people.
So this is not holy ground. And even for a century after the enactment of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, it reigned its terror. It ignored the language of the 14th Amendment, ignored the language of the 15th Amendment, ignored the language of the 14th Amendment, and made it so that black folks couldn't go to the polls and vote without terror. That if you wanted to marry somebody of a different race, you couldn't. That if you were a black child in this country, your education was not a right for you, right? These are the kind of decisions. It didn't matter. They said that even when the 14th Amendment was in place, that southern states could have Jim Crow laws that made it hard. So for 100 years after the 14th Amendment, this court continued to rain terror on our people. So no, it is not holy ground.
It's not.
But I'll tell you something about God.
Oh, come on, Ace.
So a raven who has the nature of taking, it's a scavenger. It spends its day just finding food for itself. But God would have it so that when one of its prophets, who was dedicated to his word, needed something, God changed the nature of the raven and made him feed Elijah. So with that in mind, when the 1950s emerged and our people, right? Black people, white people, Asian people, Jewish people, folks of all faiths and genders decided that in this season, we were going to fight for our rights. Guess what this SCOTUS did? This SCOTUS woke up and in 1954 began to issue decisions that made it so that we could enter America's chambers and start to have our voices heard. But it just didn't stop with black folk, because when we get our rights, right, everybody gets their rights. And so in this moment, we got some questions that we got to ask today. We got two questions. I'm going to start with one question, and Cliff is going to ask the second question. The first question is to this SCOTUS, and so we got to help make sure SCOTUS hears us with these questions. So I want us to, when I get ready to ask the question, I want us to yell SCOTUS as loud as we can, right? So let's go. 1, 2, 3. SCOTUS! That ain't loud enough. SCOTUS! Get it louder. SCOTUS! Who are you going to be? Are you going to be Justice Taney and the Dred Scott Court?
1857.
Right. Who are you going to be?
Come on now.
All right, SCOTUS. Louder, SCOTUS. Or are you going to be the Supreme Court, right, that ushers in more rights for black folk and white folk, right, and indigenous people and poor people, right, and people of all different nations and ethnicities and religion? Are you going to be that SCOTUS in that moment? Because that's why we're here today. We are here to bear witness, to let them know, depending on who you are, will define who we are in this moment. Because we have never been stopped by a wrong Supreme Court. Plessy didn't stop us, right? Dred Scott didn't stop us, and we're not going to stop today. So again, SCOTUS, SCOTUS, who are you going to be? Who are you going to be?
How y'all doing? So before I answer this question that I've been voluntold to pose, first I got to get us, because before we can figure out who we are, I got to figure out who's in the room. So if you are here from a southern state, I need to hear you make some noise. So before, the South got something to say, y'all. So before I answer the question about who we are, I gotta tell you a little something about who I am, and more importantly, what I'm feeling. And I gotta be honest with y'all, because there's times where a part of me, as we're here, and they're hearing this case, and we all know that it poses to kill the Voting Rights Act, there's a part of me that gets sad. There's a part of me that gets sad at the impending death of this thing that has meant so much. I feel that sadness. There's a part of me that feels weak, that feels small. As I stand here outside this huge building with so much history, I feel weak. Who am I, who are we to be able to change this building? There's a part of me that feels frustrated, that feels empty, that feels like something's missing. I feel that today, y'all. And so you might say that in this moment that I'm mourning. You might say in this moment that I feel meek.
Come on, what?
You might say in this moment that I hunger and thirst for righteousness. But I've got good news for you. Because I heard somewhere that blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I heard that somewhere. I heard somewhere, LDF, I heard somewhere, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. I heard somewhere, y'all, that blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. So I'm here to tell you today that we're gonna be satisfied. If the question is who am I, I'm here to tell you I'm blessed. The question is who are we? I'm here to tell you that we are blessed. Because we are blessed with power. We are blessed with the power when we believe, Sister Lakita, as you say, when we believe. Somebody say believe. Believe. When we believe, we got the power to move mountains. We got the power to cross the bridge in a city called Selma and change the course of history. We got the power to make good trouble. And we got the power to move this court. This court ain't nothing but another mountain for us to move. We got that kind of power, but we got to believe, y'all. So I need all y'all to say it loud so they can hear you. Let me say, I believe. I believe. Say it from your heart. Say, I believe. I believe. Say it from the depths of your soul. I believe. I believe. And when we believe, we win. Thank y'all.
That's a very hard act to follow, but good morning, everyone. My name is Laderica Christian, and I am honored to be here today. I serve as the Voting Rights Outreach Coordinator at the Texas Civil Rights Project, a nonpartisan nonprofit fighting for voting rights, immigrants' rights, and criminal justice across the state. Now, I'm sure you're wondering why I, someone from Texas, is here on behalf of Louisiana. Well, it's simple. I grew up in Louisiana, Baton Rouge to be exact. In fact, the second majority Black district that's being created is one that finally gave true representation to the community where my family currently lives. Redistricting isn't just about drawing lines. It's about determining the power behind your vote. For generations, map drawing has been used both as a tool of inclusion and a weapon of exclusion to preserve power and silence the voices of people of color. The Louisiana versus Callais case is now testing the strength and future of the Voting Rights Act, determining whether Louisiana's majority Black district violates the Constitution itself. That argument contradicts the very purpose of the VRA, which is to ensure equal opportunity to elect candidates by all people, regardless of race. Dismantling it would undo decades of struggle, sacrifice, and civil rights progress. Section 2 has been critical for ensuring at least some minority representation in Texas, which is a majority minority state, even though recent mid-decade gerrymandering has intentionally reduced Black, Latino, and Asian electoral influence. Without Section 2, we will lose one of the most essential tools we have to fight discriminatory redistricting. Fighting for fair maps isn't just about elections. It's about having access to disaster recovery funding, equitable health care, and policies that accurately reflect our communities. These decisions aren't random, unrelated arguments. They determine how power and resources are distributed among our neighborhoods. But regardless of how the Supreme Court decides this case, even if it turns its back on the historical purposes of the 14th and 15th Amendments to protect Black and minority voters, we will not stop fighting with every tool we have in every corner of Texas and this country, because we need fair maps to have a fair democracy. The VRA wasn't won in a day, and this fight won't be either. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amr Badat, and I'm proud to be here today on behalf of Fair Fight Action. I'm proud to be here today from Jackson, Mississippi. Where my Mississippi folks at? There we go. Mississippi's here to fight. The South is here to fight. I'm proud to be here today alongside every one of you who still believes that in a democracy, every voice counts and every vote counts. Yeah. We stand here today on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court at a defining moment in our democracy. Right now, inside the building behind me, the justices are hearing arguments about whether Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the most prominent and transformational piece of legislation this country has ever enacted, is constitutional. Whether it will continue to protect the voices of Black voters and voters of color around this country. And let's be clear, this fight didn't begin in Washington. It didn't begin at the Supreme Court. This fight began in 1619, when the first enslaved people were brought to the land that we sit on today. This fight continued through the fight against slavery. It continued through the Civil War, the fight for Reconstruction, the fight against Jim Crow. It continued through the fight for the Voting Rights Act, and it continued in Louisiana, where Black Louisianans organized, mobilized. They refused to be ignored. They told their stories in the legislature. They stood up in court, and they won. Through their courage and persistence, they secured a second Black majority congressional district. A district that reflects the truth of Louisiana, that Black people are vital, a powerful part of its past, present, and future. And their victory lit a spark. Today, we are here to carry that fight forward, because that struggle that started in Louisiana is the struggle to defend democracy itself. Section 2 was written to remedy the racial discrimination that still exists in this country today, not just the injustices of the past, but the barriers that persist right now in how maps are drawn and whose votes are heard. Yet the plaintiffs in the state of Louisiana are in there right now in the courtroom arguing, trying to convince the court to twist our Constitution into something unrecognizable. They're claiming that protecting Black voters violates the Reconstruction Amendments, the very amendments that were meant to protect Black people in this country. That's not just wrong, it's an extreme perversion of the 14th and 15th Amendments, which were born out of the ashes of the Civil War to secure freedom and political power for everyone in this country. Our brothers and sisters in Louisiana started this fight, and now we must continue it. So today, as the justices are hearing from arguments from lawyers inside, let them also hear from us out here. Yeah. We will not back down. Let me hear you say it. We will not back down. We are here to tell this court and this country, we will not stand for a gutting of Section 2. We will pour into the streets to protect Black political power. We will rally across the South, from Louisiana to Mississippi to Alabama to Georgia and across this nation, to defend our democracy. Because this fight didn't start in Washington, and it won't end here. This fight will continue. It started with the people with Black Louisianans who refuse to be silenced, and it will continue with all of us out here and all of us around the country who still believe that the right to vote is sacred and non-negotiable. So let our voices rise higher than the marble columns behind me. Let the justices hear the sound of a people who will not go back. And let the world know we will defend Section 2. Let me hear you say it. We will defend Section 2. We will defend Black political power. And we will defend our democracy. Thank you.
My name is Carlos Polar Jr. I was born and raised in Louisiana, and I stand here today on behalf of a rising generation who want to know our state is one where we can stay and thrive. A generation of Louisianians who want to know that we won't grow to have fewer rights than the generations before us. Generations who fought for our futures, fought for our freedom, who fought for the Voting Rights Act, and the hope of a true multiracial democracy. In Callais, opponents of Louisiana's map do not only aim to overturn it, they now seek to pit critical civil rights protections against one another, claiming that attempting to address racial discrimination under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is itself discriminatory and violates the 14th and 15th Amendments, the very constitutional provisions adopted in the wake of the Civil War to protect against discrimination in voting. Now that my state's leaders have abandoned their commitment to defend our congressional map and my rights as a Black voter, we are here because a group of 9 Black Louisiana voters and 2 civil rights groups are holding the line for a fair map in Louisiana and the promise of a Voting Rights Act nationwide. Dr. Press Robinson, Bishop Edwin Renee Soule, Reverend Clee Ernest Lowe, Edgar Cage, Martha Davis, Commissioner Devontae Lewis, Dr. Dorothy Nairn, Ambrose Sims, Dr. Alice Washington, the NAACP, Louisiana State Conference, and the Power Coalition for Equity and Justice. They are the Robertson interveners, many who are here today. We rally with them today because fair maps are the foundation of fair representation. Fair maps are the tool that ensure we are a true democracy where the will of the people, not the power of a few, determines our future. This is our generation's civil rights fight. Fair maps determine whether we will inherit a democracy that values every voice, or one that silences you before you ever get started. And I will not be silenced. Thank you.
I bring greetings on behalf of the entire staff and board of the Legal Defense Fund. It is truly an honor to stand here today in defense of democracy, carrying forward the legacy of every former president and director counsel of the Legal Defense Fund, every staff member, and every client that has put themselves in and on the front line to fight for our country. And we have many of our Robinson clients here today, and I want to especially thank them for coming all the way from Louisiana to be here to witness this moment for a second time. We were just here in March when this case was brilliantly argued by Stuart Nafee, who's here. And we are back again because we believe in the future of this multiracial democracy. We believe that no matter what assaults and attacks we are currently facing, that the right to vote is still the lifeblood of our democracy and that it must be protected at all costs. And we know that the law is on our side. We know that if these justices follow their own words, we will prevail in this case. And so that is the argument that we made today. We brought up the very important concept of stare decisis to make sure that we remind ourselves that these are not new fights. Many of these arguments have been made, many of these questions have been asked and answered, and this is no time to stop now. We must proceed with our commitment to fulfilling the ideals of our Constitution, to fulfilling the mandate of the 15th Amendment to prohibit discrimination on the basis of race in voting. That is what we are fighting for. That is what we believe in. And I am extraordinarily grateful to all of you for being here, because it's not just what we do inside that storied building. It is also the force of the people making sure that your voices are heard and that everyone understands that we are all in this together. The lawyers cannot do their work without the commitment of clients. And the clients can't be brave and stand firm on their ground without the commitment of community. I see so many allies and friends here. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your support, and tell you that the fight continues. This is not the end of it. We have to stay focused. We have to stay firm. We have to stay unyielding and unrelenting in our belief that we will win. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sophia Lynn Lakin. I am the director of the ACLU's Voting Rights Project. And the ACLU couldn't be more proud and honored to be here alongside the Legal Defense Fund in this fight. I want to first begin by recognizing all of you, our courageous clients, but more importantly, or most importantly today, Janae Nelson, who just delivered a masterful argument before the Supreme Court. Janae is one of the most formidable civil rights advocates of our generation. And today, she made the case for voting rights with the clarity, force, and moral conviction that this moment demands. Today, we stand at a crossroads for our democracy. This case is not just about a single map. It's not just about Louisiana alone. It is about whether voters of color across this nation will continue to have a fair shot at representation, or whether we will return to a system that silences them by design. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act has been a critical tool for safeguarding the promise that people of color can participate in our democracy on equal terms. It has been our shield against discriminatory maps, our answer to laws designed to suppress the vote. Congress passed the Voting Rights Act with overwhelming bipartisan support and reauthorized it again and again because our leaders at the time understood a fundamental truth. You cannot cure discrimination by pretending it doesn't exist. But now we are witnessing an effort in the courts and in state houses across the country to take back that promise, to suggest that acknowledging race in order to remedy discrimination is somehow discrimination itself, or that ongoing discrimination on the backs of centuries of exclusion somehow no longer matter. That is not just wrong, it's dangerous. Remedying identified instances of racial discrimination is not about giving advantage. It's about addressing real, documented harm. They exist because discrimination is not ancient history. It is present reality. Federal courts in Louisiana have found ongoing contemporary discrimination in the political process on racial grounds. The evidence is there. The harm is real. If the court strips away Section 2 as a means to root out racial discrimination in our district maps or limits its reach, we risk locking inequality into our elections permanently. Maps that silence voters of color will stand unchallenged. Legislatures will have free rein to divide and dilute communities of color until representation looks like it did a century ago. That is unacceptable. This fight isn't about partisanship. People have been trying to make it about partisanship. It's not about partisanship. It's about whether voters of color get to choose their leaders or whether leaders get to choose their voters. 2 years ago in Allen versus Milligan, the Supreme Court reaffirmed this truth by upholding Section 2. In doing so, they recognized that Section 2 still matters. And that is because, as we've shown in Louisiana and elsewhere, racial discrimination in voting still exists. We are here today to ask the court to stand by this truth and to protect the communities who still need the law to ensure that their voices are heard on equal terms. Democracy is only worthy of its name when it represents all of us. That promise is what is at stake today. Thank you for standing with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Terry Sewell, and I proudly represent Alabama's 7th Congressional District, which includes the historic cities of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and my hometown of Selma, Alabama. I want all of you to know how very proud I am of the amazing work that our lawyers have done. I want to thank LDF. I want to thank the ACLU. I want to thank the National Redistricting Committee. I could go on and on and on. Lawyers have brought us to this point, and it's been because of the amazing stories of ordinary Americans of why it's important to have fair representation. We're all here because we believe in this democracy, and we know firsthand what's possible. If any district understands the importance of the right to vote and fair representation, it's my district. And I know that Alabama's in the house. If you're from Alabama, thank you for their busloads that came from Alabama last night. I am also the proud author and sponsor of the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. We know that fighting on the front lines to ensure that our democracy works requires all of us to do our part. That means litigators litigating, that means legislators legislating, and that means the people of this nation standing up, standing out, mobilizing and organizing and demanding that we have our democracy be truly representative. And that can only happen with all of us here. You know, it was in my hometown 60 years ago where John Lewis and those foot soldiers were bludgeoned on a bridge. And I have to tell you that I carry that legacy with me. I know that I have the seat that I sit in because our ancestors, our foremothers and forefathers fought for the right to have fair representation. And it is fairer, not fair, but it's fairer than it would be because of the work of so many of you that are here today. Our allies, our partners, we couldn't do what we do in Congress without your support, and we definitely could not win a court case like this without your support. You know, since the Shelby versus Holder decision, and I was saying to Cleo Fields, who was in there watching the magnificentness that was Janae Nelson. Thank you, Janae. In 2013, I had the great honor of listening to the oral argument of the Shelby versus Holder case. And I was sitting to the left of John Lewis, and to my right was Sheila Jackson Lee. And while they are not here with us, their legacy looms large. We know that these are fighters. These are folks that believed that the best is still yet to come. Now, we know that progress is elusive, and every generation has to fight to hold on to the progress that we've made and to advance it. But we only advance it if we're moving, if we're doing some action. And we can do that when we mobilize together. Before I take my seat, I want to remind all of you of what John Lewis said on his very last time on that bridge in Selma. John's body was riddled with cancer, but he stood up tall and strong at the apex of that bridge. And he said with a very strong voice, "Never give up, never give in, keep the faith, and let's keep our eyes on the prize." Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stuart Nafee. I am the manager of the redistricting project at the Legal Defense Fund, and I have the great honor today to sit next to Janae Nelson at the council table in the Supreme Court. We stand here today because of the tremendous and unyielding dedication of everyday Louisianans who have organized for years for the promise of fair representation and a fair congressional map. Louisiana and the people on the other side say that we don't need the Voting Rights Act anymore. They say that things in Louisiana have changed and there's no more discrimination and we don't need the Voting Rights Act to protect Black people anymore. They say the needs of Black voters in Louisiana no longer justify a statute that protects against discrimination. Now, I've talked to my clients in Louisiana and I've visited their communities, and I know and they know that is just not true. There's poverty, there's inequitable access to health care, there's food deserts. All of these things are the result of years of discrimination, and fair representation is the quickest and fastest cure for the discrimination that still prevails all over the state of Louisiana. Now, things have gotten better in some ways. Now we have 2 congressional districts that allow Black voters an opportunity to elect candidates of choice. That only happened because of the Voting Rights Act. In 1980s, after the Congress amended the Voting Rights Act, the first majority Black congressional district in Louisiana was created after litigation in court under the Voting Rights Act. We would not have 1 district in Louisiana without the Voting Rights Act. And then in 2022, we sued Louisiana because they failed to create a 2nd district, even though the population has changed. The Black voters now make up 1/3 of the state, and white voters continue to decline as a share of the population, but they continue to hold on to power. That happened because of the Voting Rights Act. So to say that we don't need the Voting Rights Act just defies reality. There is rampant discrimination continues. The Voting Rights Act is the reason we have fair representation, not just in Louisiana, but all over the country, all over the South and all over the country. And we need to continue to fight for the Voting Rights Act. We will not go back to a time when there was no representation for Black people from Louisiana. We will not go back to a time when there was no representation for Black people in Alabama. We will not go back. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alana Odoms. I am the Executive Director of the ACLU of Louisiana. Thank you. First Black woman in our organization's 70-year history to hold this role. And you all might say that that's Black girl magic, but what I want to draw your attention to is Director Counsel Janae Nelson and the Black woman work that it took to deliver those arguments in the way that she did. We salute you, sister. We are proud of you. Thurgood Marshall and all of the director councils are standing and watching and honoring you. And standing here on these steps, I'm reminded of something. I'm reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King's words from the March on Washington. That when the architects of our republic, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American would fall heir. It was a promise that all people, Black and white, brown, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and voting being the most sacred of all of our rights as Americans. But Dr. King told us that America had defaulted on that promise and that the check-marked justice had come back stamped insufficient funds. And so here we are again, generations later, still asking the same question. When will this country make good on what it put down on paper? That question was the question that Oliver Brown asked 70 years ago in Brown versus Board of Education, and it is the same question that the Robinson plaintiffs are asking today in Callais versus Louisiana. This case is as seismic as Brown, because just as Brown tested whether America would dismantle the legal framework of segregation, Callais will test whether we will protect the political power of Black Americans and communities of color, or allow the inertia of discrimination to pull us backward. My grandmother, Sally Georgiana Odoms, was born in Newport News, Virginia, just about 20 miles outside of Jamestown in 1930. She came of age under Jim Crow, when discrimination and racial segregation were not just social norms, they were the law. The inertia of discrimination was built into the system itself. Power kept it running. Only resistance could interrupt its motion. That inertia didn't end with Jim Crow, though. It simply evolved. Today, it hides behind new names: voter integrity, a colorblind constitution, partisan gerrymandering. Yet we all know what this case is about. It is about racial gerrymandering. And we know that voter suppression continues to live on in the state of Louisiana, all across the American South and across this nation. The tools have changed, my friends, but the intent has not. To dilute the political power of Black communities and communities of color, and to maintain the imbalance of representation. That is what Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was designed to prevent. It doesn't ask what's in someone's heart. Again, as Justice Jackson brilliantly argued, it doesn't ask about discriminatory purpose. It looks at the effect. And the effect in Louisiana is clear. The old maps denied Black voters an equal voice. And when a fair map was created at last, giving Black voters a second opportunity district in a state that is 1/3 Black, what happened? A group of white residents sued, calling it violation of the Equal Protection Clause. Now the Supreme Court is determining and answering a dangerous question: whether remedying racial discrimination violates the Constitution itself. This is not neutrality. This is the inertia of discrimination dressed up as equality. I have the privilege to represent the beautiful state of Louisiana. It is a state of contradiction and yet of deep courage. The birthplace of Plessy versus Ferguson, but also of resistance. The Baton Rouge bus boycotts that inspired Dr. King himself in Montgomery. In my work with the ACLU, I often think about the sons and daughters of our movement. Dr. Ronnie Moore, now some 80 years old, the son of Louisiana, he was a member and founding member of the Congress on Racial Equality, a hero of our civil rights movement who risked his life registering voters. Dr. Ronnie is famous for these words: "You have to know what time it is." And my friends, we know what time it is. It's time to march, not retreat. It's time to resist the inertia of discrimination that tells us to stand still. It's time to resist the powers that tell us to sit down when we know we must stand up and fight back. It's time to defend the Constitution, not just for minorities, communities, but for all people. This is what we must do. The law, I believe, the law at its best is an act of love, a promise that we belong to one another and that every voice matters. But love, like justice, requires motion. We can't stand still. It requires us to push against the inertia of discrimination that would hold us in place. This case will show whether we remain a nation becoming or a nation retreating. My grandmother knew what time it was. Dr. Ronnie knows what time it is. And I know what time it is. Do you know what time it is? If you know what time it is, then say it's time to move. Say with love, with courage, with purpose, we will make justice real in Louisiana and all across this nation. Thank you so very much.
If you can give me one moment before we disperse, I want to thank a gentleman who I just saw, and that is Anthony Romero. Come on, back out the car. Yes, my brother. He won't say it himself, but Anthony has been such a stalwart supporter and a partner in arms in this moment. And I just want to say directly to you and your amazing team how honored I am to be in partnership with you, Anthony Romero, the president of the ACLU, our co-counsel in this case, and as I said, my comrade in arms in every fight for justice. Thank you. I also want to thank Maya Wiley, who helped to organize the rally. She is the president and CEO of the Leadership Conference, and so thank you. There are so many other people. I'm going to stop there, but these two I had to mention, and to thank our team at the Legal Defense Fund, the Callais team, who honestly have lifted me and supported me beyond measure in preparation. Nobody does any of this alone. And so the entire LDF staff, I want to thank you for your grace and forbearance. And I will just leave you with the words of our founder, Thurgood Marshall. This is our democracy. It is ours. Make it, protect it, and pass it on. Thank you.